Beneath the blazing sun and endless skies of Australia lie forgotten towns where silence has replaced the sound of life. Once filled with dreams, gold, trains, and hard-working people, these places now stand as eerie reminders of a past lost to time. From deadly dust in the west to empty railway stops in the Outback, each ghost town holds a chilling story. Are you ready to uncover the haunting truth behind Australia's most mysterious abandoned places? Let's begin. If you dare. If you love exploring forgotten places and eerie true stories, hit that subscribe button and join our journey into the unknown. Don't miss what lurks in the next ghost town. 1. Wittenoom, Western Australia. Wittenoom is one of the most well-known ghost towns in Australia, not because of ghosts or spirits, but because of something far more dangerous: asbestos. Located in the Pilbara region of Western Australia, Wittenoom was once a busy mining town. In the 1950s and 60s, it was full of life. People came from all over to work in the blue asbestos mines. There were shops, schools, homes, and even a local swimming pool. But no one knew back then that the very thing bringing people to Wittenoom would also destroy the town forever. Blue asbestos is a highly toxic material. It was used in building products, insulation, and many other things. But when it is disturbed, the tiny fibers can float in the air and be breathed into the lungs. Over time, these fibers cause deadly diseases like asbestosis, lung cancer, and mesothelioma. It took years for the danger to become fully understood, but by the 1970s, people began to realize how serious it was. Many workers and even children who lived in Wittenoom started getting sick. Families were devastated, and the town's future suddenly looked very dark. By 1966, the mine was shut down, but the damage had already been done. Hundreds of people had been exposed to the deadly dust. Many had already moved away, hoping to protect their families. The government slowly began to close off the town. Over time, services were removed: electricity, water, and even the postcode. Wittenoom was literally erased from official maps. The government warned people not to go there, and signs were put up saying it was unsafe. Still, a few residents refused to leave. They stayed, living in silence, surrounded by abandoned homes and streets covered in red dust. Today, Wittenoom is nearly empty. The buildings are falling apart, the roads are cracked, and the desert is slowly taking back the land. The blue asbestos tailings still remain in the ground, on rooftops, and even in the air. It is considered one of the most contaminated places in the Southern Hemisphere. Visiting Wittenoom is strongly discouraged, and some travel companies even refuse to take tourists there. The danger is invisible, but it's very real. There's a haunting feeling when you look at photos or videos of Wittenoom. Unlike many ghost towns that were abandoned due to economic changes or natural disasters, Wittenoom's silence is a warning. It's a place where the past is filled with sorrow and mistakes. Some people still go there out of curiosity, but experts say even a short visit could put your health at risk. In 2022, the last remaining residents were finally ordered to leave, and the government began sealing off the area completely. The goal is to remove Wittenoom from the map forever, so no one is tempted to visit a place so dangerous. But its story is not forgotten. Wittenoom remains a dark chapter in Australia's mining history, a town that was built on hope and hard work, and lost to something no one could see until it was too late. 2. Gwalia, Western Australia. Gwalia is one of Australia's most fascinating ghost towns. It's located in Western Australia, near the small town of Leonora, and was once a rich gold mining settlement. Gwalia was founded in the late 1890s when gold was discovered in the area. People from all over the world came here in search of fortune. It quickly grew into a busy mining town, with wooden houses, a hotel, shops, and even a tram line. At its peak, Gwalia had around 1,200 people living there, most of them workers in the Sons of Gwalia gold mine. One of the most interesting facts about Gwalia is that the famous engineer Herbert Hoover, who later became the 31st President of the United States, worked there as a young man. In the 1890s, he helped manage the mine and introduced new ideas that made it more efficient. His time in Gwalia was short, but it's still a unique part of the town's story. People often find it surprising that a future U.S. president once lived in such a remote part of Western Australia. Life in Gwalia was tough. The area is very dry and hot, especially during the summer. Temperatures could reach over 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Water had to be brought in, and many homes were simple timber or corrugated iron buildings. Most of the people living there were immigrants from Italy, Yugoslavia, and other European countries. They worked long hours underground in dangerous conditions, but they were proud to be part of the gold rush dream. The mine was the heart of the town. When it was working well, Gwalior was full of energy and life. But like many mining towns, everything depended on the success of the mine. As time went on, the gold became harder to find. The cost of digging deeper got higher. In December 1963, without any warning, the mine closed. Over 1,000 people lost their jobs in a single day. Most families packed up and left overnight. They abandoned their homes, furniture, and belongings because they had nowhere to store them and no time to plan. Within weeks, the town was almost completely empty. Today, Gwalior is frozen in time. Many of the old buildings still stand just as they were left in the 1960s. Chairs sit around dining tables, cups remain on shelves, and beds are still made. It feels like the people simply disappeared. Visitors can walk through the old cottages, the general store, and the museum, which was once the mine manager's house. The silence of the place gives it a ghostly feeling, and it's easy to imagine the lives of the people who once called it home. Even though no one lives in Gwalior anymore, it has been carefully preserved as a historic site. It's not haunted in the traditional sense, but there's something very emotional about being there. It reminds people of how quickly life can change, and how a thriving town can vanish almost overnight. The sounds of mining drills and children's laughter are gone, replaced by the whisper of the wind through the empty streets. Gwalior stands today as a powerful reminder of Australia's gold rush era and the people who helped build the country's mining industry. It's a real ghost town, not because of spirits, but because of a lost way of life that once burned bright in the desert and then disappeared forever. 3. Silverton, New South Wales. Silverton is one of the most famous ghost towns in Australia. It is located in the far west of New South Wales, not far from the city of Broken Hill. Silverton was born in the 1880s during a silver mining boom. People rushed to the area hoping to strike it rich. Within just a few years, the small camp grew into a busy town with thousands of people. There were hotels, a post office, a police station, churches, and even a school. It looked like Silverton would become one of the great towns of Australia. But the silver didn't last forever. By the late 1880s, larger silver deposits were found nearby in Broken Hill. Many of the miners and businesses moved there. Slowly, Silverton began to empty. People left their homes and shops behind, and the town started to fade. Even buildings were moved to Broken Hill using camels and horses. By the early 1900s, Silverton was almost a ghost town. A few people stayed, but the streets became quiet and empty. The dreams of wealth had disappeared with the silver. The land around Silverton is very dry and harsh. It is part of the Australian Outback, where temperatures can be extreme and there is very little rain. Dust storms are common, and the landscape looks almost like another planet. But this is one reason why Silverton became popular again, this time not for mining, but for movies. Because of its empty buildings and desert scenery, filmmakers began using Silverton as a location for movies, TV shows, and commercials. One of the most famous movies shot here is Mad Max 2. Visitors can even see the Mad Max Museum in the town today. Although only a few people live in Silverton now, it is not completely abandoned. It has turned into a tourist attraction. Many of the old buildings have been restored, including the Silverton Hotel, which is one of the most photographed pubs in Australia. Artists have also made their homes here, turning the ghost town into a small arts community. Tourists come to see the old buildings, take photos, and learn about the history of the mining days. There are also galleries, museums, and walking tours that share the stories of the people who once lived there. Silverton is not haunted in the traditional sense, but there is a feeling of mystery and loneliness that comes from walking through its empty streets. Some visitors have reported strange feelings or sounds, especially near the old buildings and cemetery. The stories of hardship, hope, and sudden loss still hang in the air. The silence of the Outback makes everything feel more intense. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Silverton has an energy that is hard to explain. Today, Silverton is a mix of the past and present. It reminds people of the mining dreams that helped shape Australia, but also shows how quickly a town can rise and fall. The old stone buildings, the wide red landscape, and the stories of those who lived and left make it a powerful place to visit. It may no longer be a mining town, but it has found a new life through history, art, and film. Silverton stands as a true ghost town, one that still whispers stories to those who stop to listen. 4. Farina, South Australia. Farina is a small ghost town located in South Australia, far out in the dry and dusty outback. It was founded in the late 1800s, around 1878, with big hopes for the future. The name Farina means flower in Latin, and the town was named this way because early settlers believed the area would be good for growing wheat and other crops. They thought the rains would come and the desert would bloom. But those dreams quickly faded. The land was too dry, the summers too hot, and the rain didn't come often enough to make farming possible for long. In its early years, Farina grew quickly because it was a stop on the Old Gone railway line, which connected Port Augusta to the central parts of Australia. The railway brought people, supplies, and business to the town. At its peak, Farina had about 300 people living there. It had 2 hotels, a post office, a bakery, a church, a police station, and even an underground bakery built to escape the extreme heat. People of many backgrounds lived there, including European settlers and Afghan cameleers who helped transport goods through the desert. The town was full of promise, and for a while it seemed to thrive. But the land around Farina was harsh and unforgiving. Dust storms, dry seasons, and poor soil made farming very difficult. Even raising livestock became hard when the grass would dry up and the water would disappear. Slowly, families began to leave. As fewer trains came through and farming failed, the town's shops and homes were abandoned. By the 1960s, the last few residents had moved away, and Farina became a true ghost town. The buildings crumbled under the sun and wind, and only ruins remained. For many years, Farina sat silent and forgotten. But in recent times, volunteers and historians have worked to bring its history back to life. A group called the Farina Restoration Group has been working since 2009 to rebuild and protect the old buildings. Every winter, volunteers travel to Farina to clean up the site, restore the stone ruins, and even reopen the famous underground bakery for a short time. Visitors can now buy fresh bread and pies baked the old-fashioned way, just like they were over 100 years ago. Today, Farina is a popular stop for Outback travelers and history lovers. People come to walk through the stone ruins, visit the restored bakery, and learn about the people who once lived in this tough part of Australia. Signs tell the stories of old buildings, and a small museum shares the town's past. The cemetery outside the town also holds graves of early settlers, including many who died young, showing just how hard life was out there. Even though Farina is no longer a town with residents, it is full of memories and stories. The wind whistles through the broken buildings, and the red dirt covers everything like a blanket of time. It's a place where people tried to build a future but were defeated by the land. Still, the efforts to preserve and remember Farina give it a second life. It may not have people living there now, but it still welcomes visitors with its silent beauty, its strong history, and its lessons about survival in the heart of the Australian outback. 5. Cook. Cook is a small ghost town in the middle of the Nullarbor Plain in South Australia. It was once an important stop for the railways, especially on the famous Indian Pacific train route that connects Sydney and Perth. Cook was built in 1917 when the Trans-Australian Railway was completed. Its purpose was to serve as a service point for trains and the workers who kept them running. Even though it was in the middle of nowhere, Cook had an important role in helping trains cross the vast and empty desert. At its peak, Cook had around 200 people living there. There was a school, a swimming pool, a shop, and even a small hospital. The people who lived in Cook worked for the railway. They repaired the tracks, refueled trains, and helped travelers. The town was very isolated, with no nearby cities or towns. Everything had to be brought in by train. But the community was strong, and families made a life for themselves in this dry and lonely place. Cook is located on one of the straightest stretches of railway track in the world, 478 kilometers without a single turn. This made it a perfect spot for train maintenance. For decades, Cook was an essential refueling and repair point. But in the 1990s, things began to change. The railway system was privatized, and new technology meant fewer workers were needed. Slowly, jobs disappeared and people left. With no school, no shop, and no need for a full-time railway team, the town emptied out. By the early 2000s, only a few people remained, and Cook became known as a ghost town. Today, Cook is almost empty. Only a couple of people live there to manage the railway refueling station. The buildings are still standing but are mostly abandoned. The hospital, which once had a sign saying, "If you're crook, come to Cook," is closed. The swimming pool is dry, and the homes are quiet. Trains still stop there, but only for a short time. Passengers on the Indian Pacific train sometimes get off to take photos, walk around, and see what remains of this once busy railway town. The landscape around Cook is flat and dry. There are no trees, no rivers, and very little wildlife. The heat can be extreme, and the area feels completely silent except for the occasional sound of a passing train. This harsh environment adds to the ghostly feeling of the town. Some visitors say it feels like time has stopped. The houses are frozen in the past, with old furniture, empty kitchens, and broken windows. Despite being nearly abandoned, Cook still plays a small role in Australia's rail network. It serves as a reminder of how important the railways once were in connecting the country. It also shows how technology and change can quickly turn a busy place into a quiet ruin. Cook may not have ghosts in the usual sense, but its silence and emptiness speak loudly. It's a town that tells a story of isolation, hard work, and how life in the Outback can disappear almost overnight. Today, travelers who stop in Cook find it both eerie and fascinating. It's a piece of Australian history standing alone in the desert. Though only a few people live there now, Cook continues to survive in its own quiet way, surrounded by the wide open spaces of the Nullarbor.